Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me for our conversation today around Tier 1. I'm going to have you quickly go around and just introduce yourself and your name and your role, and then we'll get started with the questions.
My name is Dr. Erin Sykes-Thurston. I'm the assistant principal at South Lakes for intervention.
I'm Molly Pellicelli, on-time graduation resource teacher.
Shannon Bennett, school social worker.
Thank you for coming today. So we're going to talk today about your attendance meetings that you have with students, and we're going to talk about how those began and then ultimately the impact of those. So the first question I have for you is, what data sources did you all use to determine that you needed to have these 5-day attendance meetings with your students?
So we have a compliance aspect in our jobs where we have to have a conference with a student at 5 days with 5 unexcused absences. In the beginning of the year, if you use a combination of percentages and days to meet both compliance and tiering our students for different levels of support, we've got to imagine that there's a lot of children who, when they miss one full day of school in the first or second or third week of school, that's going to be kind of maybe a very important meeting for us to have right away. And to be perfectly honest, those numbers are kind of small in the beginning of the year. As the year goes on, when you look at a combination of percentages and then days absent in terms of the compliance piece, the numbers get quite big, where all of a sudden in February, a student has missed 5 full days of school, and we need to now meet the compliance piece. But we figured that out with pulling certain data around 6001. It's a report from SIS. And then we look at those numbers, and then we look at our resources. What's the most efficient and effective way we can use our resources to serve our students and our families and help move the needle around attendance?
And I can also add, we also did a lot of work over the summer to look at kiddos who had pretty high numbers of attendance from the previous school year and kind of tried to be a little proactive over the summer. And I believe Ms. Palicelli and Ms. Kelly were doing home visits to kind of engage kids and families to kind of get ahead of the absences. So,
Yeah, the challenges.
yeah, the challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. So could you describe to us what one of these days look like where we have these 5-day attendance meetings from start to finish?
Sure. So we have our list of students that we know need a 5-day meeting and spend a lot of time pulling some information on the students around their all-day absences, their period attendance, and current grades, kind of figure out where they're supposed to be at the time we want to get them. And our team members go out into the building to find the students. So we try to group by area of the building to make it fast. We pull them into one location and then we kind of divide them up from there so that we can have individual meetings with the students. But a faculty member, whoever's helping with this, goes to the classroom, gets a group of students and brings them down for the meetings. And then we talk to them about what the barriers are, what's happening, and then try to call a parent while they're here and then send them back to class.
So how did you determine which staff members would be supporting what you just described?
I think it's just kind of based upon who's available, and it's also a lot of non-teaching support, just because, it's a little bit easier to build that relationship. We also have kiddos that have emotional support, so a lot of those kiddos will not do well in these group settings, so there are things that myself and the other social workers or psychologists will know that others won't. So I think just everyone who's available is able to help, but if there's anything else needed, if there's a discipline or a bullying issue, we have a principal to help with that. If there's an emotional issue, I need resources at home, we have the social workers and we have the psychologists on the team as well to help. So it just brings a collaborative team together to support that student in whatever is potentially hindering them from coming to school, but or sometimes it's just truly all hands on deck to get it done.
Yeah.
Do you have any outside support that comes to help with that initiative?
Yeah, we've been very, very lucky. Several people in Region 1 have been very, very supportive, and then we've just through relationships and people who might want to just hang out with some kids for a little while. So we cast a pretty wide net to see who might be able to come help. And most people are so excited to get to be with a kid and talk to them and engage with them and what kind of barriers exist for our student or just clear up for a student why is this data wrong. But they tend to be a pretty happy meeting, and we have the specific staff here in case some kids it could get a little touchy for some kids. So we have those supports here as well. But we wouldn't be able to do them without some of our friends from Region 1. We've got Kristen, the Region 1 EP, Lindsay Trout comes. We've got our behavior interventionist, Michael Dennis. Dr. Copeland has come a few times. So we've been very, very lucky. And anyone that I know, I just basically invite them.
She does.
Who pulls the attendance for each of these meetings, and then who enters it or flips it, I guess, in SIS each time?
So I pull the attendance every week. And actually, one of the first things we do is in our resource team meeting, we look over the list, and that's when our clinicians can kind of clue us into any students who wouldn't do well in a group setting, and we make arrangements to do a more private situation. And then after the meeting, I collect all of the 5-day forms and flip that in SIS, and also scan it and to store it.
And then how often are these meetings happening? What's the frequency?
So we try to do them at least once a month, and we try to tap into either a late morning or an early-ish afternoon to tap into when most of the kids will be here. Yeah.
Lastly, I think the most important question is, what do you think has been the overall impact of these? Because you're now in year 2 of implementing these meetings. And you can think about that question as it relates to students and or parents.
So I think for students, the impact has been that they develop a relationship kind of quickly because we have experts that are talking with kids. So they're able to connect with an adult, and they're able to talk with them and share with them, if possible, what's going on to prevent them from coming to school. So from that perspective, that means that we've got a kid walking by our college and career specialist, Kathy Longo. All of a sudden, she's got freshmen that are saying, "Hey, Miss Longo." So it allows for a relationship to get formed that might not have ever gotten formed. So that's been helpful for some of our kids. The other thing that is that we've been able to help families, specifically with the kids, understanding their role in helping their families follow the process to be called out for attendance. So our kids will say, "But my mom didn't call in." Well, we remind them, "Okay, sweetheart, you can help your mom, who's probably trying to keep you clothed and fed and in the right spot at the right time. You can help remind them." So they start to take ownership of their own education and responsibility to a certain degree, depending developmentally where they are. So for our families, what happens is the families feel a partnership between us as the school people and them. They know that there's people who care about their students, that notice their students, and that are here to serve their students. We provide our kids with a magnet, an obnoxious orange paper with a scan, a QR code that people can scan to fill out the form. And we help our families understand and educate them that tier 1 basic education around, if it's excused, these are the reasons. If it's unexcused, these are the reasons. And we're here to support you in case these attendance issues become a challenge. So it helps kids and families.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys.